All right, now that we're recording, it's official. All of that other stuff that I was saying before, none of that was official. You can't hold it against me. There's no record, no witnesses. No, just kidding. Hey, well, so I'm going to run us through sort of what I hope to be sort of two separate but fairly sort of concise sort of, closing opportunities. So two things. One is I'm going to share my screen because Rob, I just saw your comment. Yes, I am trying to make everyone run away as fast as I can with my bad jokes. Where would we be without my bad jokes? The GYA would not exist without just generally bad humor. So, all right. Well,
it's
welcome.
Clever, not bad.
Clever. I like that. Puns are the smartest form of humor. We'll go with that. All right.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, closing and membership meeting. So today we have really two core things that we're going to do. One is just closing the conference, reflections and directions. I've got a nice little word cloud activity that we can all do virtually and remotely. And then just a little sort of it's a shameless plug, the Wednesday professional meeting. So where do you go to get your dose of this community again? Well, in 2 weeks from today at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, we'll do a 1 hour, and we do this every other week. So we've seen some peaks and some troughs. I think the lowest it's ever been is like maybe 20 people, and the highest we ever got to was maybe 60 people. On those calls. So don't forget to come back for those. And then after that, we've got, once the closing of the conference is done, we've got a membership meeting. And that's just generally when we're going to talk a little bit about sort of where we are in summary. And then every year, given that we're sort of incorporated in the state of Oregon, we get to give members each year an opportunity to vote on a board member. So this year we're going to be voting for a board position as part of our annual duties. So it's not for nothing that we're all meeting here today. Or right now, actually, I guess it's kind of at the end of a big thing that we've been up to, huh? Something like something that's worthy of some sponsors. Hey, oh, look at that! I'll pay myself $20 later. Have to give extra gratitude and appreciation to the sponsors: Go Overseas and Teen Life and Hegler Enterprises in particular. This could not be without all of your generosity, and so thank you very much for the leadership that you all have in this space. As well, Tortuga, they're now setting us up to do a $2,500 a year scholarship and give away 5 backpacks a year. So we're slowly starting to build these sort of capacities within the organization, and I could not be happier. But what good would capacities be without the people to execute them? So gotta say, just massive round of applause and appreciation to Diana and the conference team. Make it awkward, turn your mics on, and let's just let it ring loud.
Yay!
Yay!
Conference team!
Done, well done. Diana, when you decided last year to just commit to Director of Education, I knew that this was going to be sort of an even improvement on last year's conference, and it has been. So I just want to say thank you. This has been about as seamless as I could have imagined, very well orchestrated. And I love how we've leveraged all of our platforms and have sort of reinvigorated the mighty network using the conference. So brilliant. Way to go, Diana, thank you. This would not exist without you. Let that in, and maybe one day, we'll get you a kudo board. I also wanted to say a huge appreciation to Vanessa Zudema. Vanessa is the person in the background who never stands up. She never raises her hand to say, look at me, but she's always the one who's making it all happen in the background. And so I really, none of this would be here, quite frankly. I'm not just talking the conference, I'm talking GYA over this last year at least. Wouldn't be here without Vanessa and her tireless work in the background. For what we pay her, we should probably only get 5 hours of actual labor. She donates probably 5 times what we actually sort of pay her for. And the expertise, professionalism, and care, actual skillful dedication to the work that she exudes, it's really noticeable. Vanessa, I'm going to make it public and awkward for you as well. Everyone turn your mics on, please. A round of applause for Vanessa. None of this would happen without her. Thank you. And then there's another crew to appreciate today at this particular conference. And that's been the executive search committee of the board for the most part. Marion's not technically on the board, but she basically is in every other way. And so wanted to say a heap of gratitude to Rob Smariga, the board president, Ray Nelson, Brenda Rayo, and Marion Taylor. These four brought it to a close for the executive search. And we yielded, I think, the perfect transition person, the person who's going to take us into the next stage of living as an association and as a movement.
Ethan and Julia.
Oh, was Julia? Yes, Julia. It's the same color as the back. No, you're absolutely right. Thank you, Rob. Julia as well. Thank you for showing up and championing this work. It takes so many people to do an executive search well, and the process, the timelines, and ultimately sort of where we landed. Grateful, couldn't have been happier. And that's yielded us Carrie. And so Carrie, did you want to say any words while we have you?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Ethan.
Carrie.
You know, during each of the sessions I attended, there was something I kept hearing over and over among those that were either first-time conference attendees or new to the Gap Year Association. And what I heard repeatedly was, everyone has been so welcoming. This has been so much fun. There's been so much sharing of resources and knowledge. And I felt the exact same way. And so, you know, the timing of this for me could not have been better in terms of beginning my tenure at GYA with getting to meet so many of you during the conference. And I promise that that culture is going to continue under new leadership. Absolutely. And, you know, just in terms of kind of looking ahead, I've shared this a few times in the different sessions I've been part of. Gosh, after this conference, I would really just like to start tomorrow full time. But Ethan and I are still doing some training, really focusing now the next couple of weeks on the systems, learning payroll and getting into the finances and the day-to-day operations. At the same time, I'm still fully employed at my current position, taking vacation time to be here with you all this week. And I need to wrap that up, and that doesn't finish until the end of the month, and I still have teaching obligations. So Ethan and I will be continuing to onboard, but know that in January and February, I imagine my calendar is just going to be chock full of meeting all of you. Through these sessions, not only have I been taking notes on the content, but literally my notebook is, ooh, connect with so-and-so, schedule a meeting with so-and-so. It's really been wonderful to hear all the different ways in which you're involved in the association. The last thing I just want to mention in terms of this closing and looking ahead to 2022, and that is during the search process, after 2 interviews, the board invited me to make a presentation to the full board of directors. And they gave me 2 prompts. And the first was, what is your vision for the Gap Year movement as a whole? And second, what is your vision for GYA? And for that first vision, my focus was really on normalizing the Gap option. You know, I know we're all coming from different parts of the country. Where I am here in rural Montana, you say Gap Year, and a lot of people are like, what? And I really want to move that conversation from what is a gap year to what did you do or what are you doing for your gap year? And that's a vision I have for the larger movement. In terms of my vision for GYA, this was a little bit harder because I was really just an outsider, you know, peeking in, looking at a few financial statements, having had a few interviews with the board, scouring the website inside and out. I spent, if your Google Analytics like skyrocketed from like July to, I don't know, October, it was me like checking out every page on there, trying to learn as much as I could. And what I'd like to say in regards to my vision moving forward, GYA is really at a pivotal time. A founder transition is a big deal. And just like we all in our lifespans go through life cycles and age and grow and change, organizations do as well. And so there is a lot of similarity between the nonprofit and the for-profit sector, actually in startups, in that one of a key indicator for future success is whether the organization, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit, makes it through the first 5 years. In GYA did that. It raced through. And that is a, inception startup phase. And then we kind of move from an organizational life cycle into sort of the stage of adolescence and, development and growth and scaling up. And where we're at now, 10 years in, GYA is really at that place to really take off after many hands that have been involved in this work under Ethan's leadership and the board's leadership. And so what I saw in my outside perspective looking in, there were 3 areas that I emphasized in my presentation to the board. And certainly these may change once, the board and I have an opportunity to really strategize together once I hear more from the membership. But coming in essentially as an outsider, where I saw opportunities for GYA is first in our membership. We're 300 or so strong now, which is awesome. If we're leading the movement for the country, I want to see those numbers grow exponentially while maintaining this culture that we've all had here. I want to maintain that collegiality, the openness of sharing resources, and we can grow this table. This table can stretch from the West Coast to the East Coast, from our southern border to the northern. And so I want to see, I look forward to working with the membership committee in that respect. The second area is looking at our financial revenue and our opportunity to diversify and grow. We've got obviously, strong revenue coming in membership dues and the expansion of the college credit. There's room for growth in the areas of fundraising and grant writing. And in my opinion, a nonprofit is successful and sustainable when there's a diversity of revenue sources. So we want to be prepared for anything that may be thrown our way. The next time there's a global pandemic, or the government shuts down, or we lose a major sponsor, or whatever it may be. And then the third area that I mentioned the board that I was particularly interested in is building up our internal capacity. You just heard Ethan say, we have part-time staff members who are doing full-time jobs. And with that hopeful increase in revenue, the difference between the for-profit and the nonprofit sector is not that as a nonprofit we can't earn revenue and profit. We absolutely can. We should be. It's a terrible business model not to. The difference is that we just reinvest that back into the organization, and that means being, attracting the best and the smartest and the brightest in this field in the gap year movement, and ensuring that the nonprofit sector is a place where people can make a decent living and have desirable benefits. And that internal capacity then goes right back out the door as well to our members in the different programs, and finding ways to really provide you all with the resources and education and outreach, whatever it may be, to bolster your efforts from whatever membership avenue you're coming from. So I'm thrilled to join you in full force in January. Thanks so much for, again, the warm welcome. It's been wonderful to learn and meet with you all over these past couple of days. So thank you all. Back to you, Ethan.
Carrie, very well done. Very well done. For the record, I'm having sort of at least a half dozen private chats to me from people saying, Carrie is awesome. She's awesome. That's the word that all caps from this last one. So no surprise, Carrie.
If someone, the one thing I could use, if someone could send me a book of puns. I know no puns. So if I'm going to, live up to Ethan in some way, I might need some puns.
I don't know about that, Carrie. My running joke is I've been lowering the collective average since 1978. So I think getting rid of puns might actually up the average for us all. It's beautiful though. I love it. I love it. Carrie, thank you very much. I'm thrilled to have you. All of us are thrilled to have you. This really feels like nowhere to go but up. And I have Ray Nelson in the back of my brain right now, championing 10 years, 10 years, 10 years. Like, let's do something big with it. I love it. Very well done. All right, back to the slideshow. There we go. Yeah, and let it be slid right in there. All right, so moving forward, of course, the great work that happens within GYA, it's also done by Elizabeth Bizarre, who's been doing everything from website to building committee onboarding and like sort of foundational processes to sort of all of the editorial content, to all of the work that she does on committees. The committees are the lifeblood of any, I think, worthwhile or mature association. And so if you have energy to give, if you've got time to give, the committees are exactly the place to put it. That's the foundation, right? We can start to grow, build the ladders, throw new layers up, and all of a sudden we're reaching new heights because of that work. Just go back to the opening session to see some of the great outcomes that the committees have been building and leaning towards. Community and collaboration, right? That was a theme we talked a lot about just throughout the entire conference, not only in the awards, but I think that was probably feathered in, maybe peppered throughout each one of the actual sessions that we got to hear from over the last 3 days. Growth, right? Like we've seen unprecedented growth. I'm going to show you at the member meeting a little bit of information of sort of where we are financially this year versus where we were last year. But we have seen a lot of growth. We've also seen a lot of changes, right? Like this is a field that is changing rapidly on the heels of not only COVID, but also climate change and the giant sort of like milieu that is higher education right now. And gap years still, they sit right at the hub of all of those things: high school, outdoor ed, experiential ed, international ed, self-awareness, maturity, career choices. Like it's sort of like, wow, I mean, this is quite the circle of wagons that we get to live with. It also gives us a lot of playground to play with. And so I'm thinking about partnership opportunities, right? Like higher ed, climate change. I attended the climate change session earlier today. And the ideas that were thrown out, the sort of the gauntlets that were thrown, believe it or not, we have one accredited member, I'll just name y'all, Irish Gap Year, who is building programs that are not only climate neutral, carbon neutral, but carbon negative. Did that feel like such a stretch to do? Well, in an hour and a half, you can have it your way too. Go back and listen to it. You know, in all seriousness, this isn't such a Herculean lift that we might be so afraid to touch it, but it's in front of us. Look at the work that Allison Sever's been doing at Eco Institute, Rising Earth around DEIA for students, for staff, right? In terms of fundraising, she was bold enough to say we had a major funder drop out. And now we have to sort of like rush towards, you know, filling that hole. But you know what? Those were our values. And I think those are Gap Year's values. So way to live them. It's amazing how when you look back in hindsight, sort of the things that you remember that impact you the most, in my experience, is always the ones who are the quiet people with the most humility, taking the largest position on their values. It's not the one who's making the most money or the loudest voice in the room. Those leave a different kind of memorable impression. These are the ones that uplift you and touch those that sort of are even just proximal to us. 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degrees. Yes, it reduces a little with each degree, but man, it can stack, right? We're educators. We're in the business of planting seeds. So here we go. And then the executive director transition. This has been a big year. I mean, a big year, right? New website, new ED, sort of new membership, COVID's still around, and we've navigated it so very well. So let's do this. Have you ever done a Mentee Meter before? Maybe what I'll do is I'll stop sharing my screen so you don't take over the screen here, but let's do this. I'll show you what this looks like. Tab menteemeter.com. And then I want to let me do this. Is this gonna let me? No, this is not gonna be okay. So it's I'm already logged into Mentee Meter, so it's not gonna let me do it. But go to menteemeter.com and put in the 8-digit code 95220442. And go ahead and start taking some votes. There's 2 different core questions, and this is going to live populate for us all.
Ethan, can you pop the code in the
Chat, yeah, good
in the
idea.
chat,
Here, let
please?
me do this. I'll stop sharing my screen and let's do this. Stop share. Here it is in the chat for everyone. Are you seeing this start to populate? Diana, do you see this live on your side?
slide it on the Mentee Meter.
Yeah, like informative, community building, fun, inspiring.
Yeah, I'm still entering words.
Awesome, great. Yeah, I think each person can do, I think, as many as 5 words. And I'm kind of curious sort of, where this lands us all.
Ethan, why don't you share your screen, because you don't see it as you enter your words.
Oh, okay.
And that way people can see. And
Great. I apologize for taking over the larger share of your screen at the moment. But this is what I see. Nice. Yeah, zoom. Like a zombie. Beautiful. Ooh, soul giving. That's some strong language. I love it. Eye-opening. Innovative, fruitful. Ooh, this is we're in bumper sticker land, y'all. These are good ones. Oh, I freaking love it. 39. Yeah, we're getting close to everybody's got at least 1 or 2, 3 things here. This is great. Nice. Actionable. I think that's a really good one. It's too easy to finish a conference and then have to go back to work with no time to integrate. And the more actionable we can be at our sort of events, the better runway we all have to do our work well. Nice. Nice. All right. And there should be, let's go back one. Focus in 2022. All right, yeah, so there should be another option to come in. So if the first one that we were talking about is just sort of, the conference itself was, the next one is a word cloud. I'm thinking like, how can we give Carrie some ideas for this next year, this next few years? How should the gap year community focus in 2022? So this isn't the GYA per se, this is the gap year community. So think about a much bigger tent. What kinds of directions could we focus on as a community, right? Like we know we have issues ahead, right? The conference doesn't just sort of great, statically we're done. This is every conference should be a launch, right? A re-engagement and a launch. And so where should we focus? Access, great. Financial security, absolutely, yeah. Breaking barriers for sure. Gaining maturity, I'd say, yeah, as a field. I mean, it's interesting, when I first came into the GYA, we didn't have standards for, I think, the first year. And it was interesting. I thought we were ready for prime time, and then I started seeing organizations go through the accreditation process, and I was like, "Whoa, no, we need some more standards." And those are the things we have to go through to get to maturity as a field, right? Like what Carrie was saying, how many of you have had that shared experience? What do you do for work? I work for a gap year. Oh, really? What's that? Right? Like it still boggles my mind. I live in it, right? So of course I'm not going to see sort of, that's a pretty big blind spot I have. But for so many people, like if you ask them, what is still the biggest barrier to entry? I'd say overwhelmingly still, it's just awareness. Price is a big one, but awareness, you can't even get to price if you don't even know it's an option. It's like when Cornelius Bull came to my high school and gave a talk. I didn't even know that a gap year was an option. I honestly thought that it was just college was just what you do. It's just the next step. And that was the first time someone came to me and said, no, there's another pathway. Carrie, any surprises in here? Any ones that jump at you that you're just like, ooh, I'm excited to jump into that?
All of them, obviously. And I'm hoping you can, I'm writing these down. I'm like, well,
I've got, yeah, it'll preserve it. Yeah.
The inclusivity and access in DEIA, I would like to say something there because I think one of my favorite sessions, while they were all amazing this week, the allyship unlocked this well, whatever time zone you're in during our first breakout session was phenomenal, was spot on. And it was a small group there. But it's, these are recorded, and I would really, really encourage you all, if you're going to watch any of the recordings, to watch that one, because Autumn and Brianna really, they shared from their lived experiences. They made made space to be reflective. They gave tips for being able to maintain this movement. And we know that in this field, we're a predominantly white-led majority, and it was really phenomenal. So anyone that had those kind of keywords on there, if you didn't make it to that session, please check that one out.
Right on. Brilliant. Thank you, Carrie. Always good to pump the promising sessions, especially when they seem so germane, right? So particularly relevant. Beautiful. Well, we're going to transition to the annual member meeting at this point. But before we do, Diana, do you want to say how people can find the sort of the recordings and how they continue to engage once we're closed today?
Sure, I was just about to type it in the chat, so thank you. So all of yesterday and Monday's sessions are almost up. There's I think 2 that had the ending wasn't edited out. So almost all of the sessions are already up on Mighty Networks, thanks to Drew Beasley, who was up late last night editing and putting them on YouTube for us. I can't say enough kind words of praise for Drew. So the recordings are there, and we hope to have today's and anything that's left over from yesterday up by tomorrow or Friday at the latest. We also, if you have colleagues or really anyone who might be interested in what we talk about at this conference, and I remember, I think it was, I'm forgetting who it was, but somebody said yesterday they wish there were more high school counselors here. So especially if you're connected to high school counselors, if you want to gift them something this holiday season, you're welcome to gift them a little bundle of recordings. It could be a nice way to bring people into the fold of, again, accessing gap years and sharing some of the opportunities of information, and whether that's, simply some of the recordings that we have if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the table of contents, there's basic information about our college credit and standards and accreditation, or the Student of Humanity and Leadership Award. Michelle did a deeper dialogue for us on that earlier in the year, and we posted that on Mighty Network. So we'll include all of those recordings, and you can kind of cherry pick which ones you want and send them off to somebody, or tell others that they are welcome to select the ones that they want. So it'll be a little bit of an a la carte opportunity, but for those of you who are here, you're all registered for the conference. Free recordings, go back, watch every single one of them. I think there's 27 sessions in all, including the general ones. And yeah, Carrie, I can't say enough good things about Justice in June. Everyone's heard me say it before. I've been to so many trainings over the last 2 years, and they just blow it out of the water. So please, everyone, go watch that recording.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I agree. And Diana, before you turn yourself to mute and before we move on to this annual membership, I think we would be remiss if we don't send out just a couple more thank yous for this closing session. So, you know, I mentioned Autumn and Brianna, but we had 3 days full of amazing speakers. So to all the presenters, thank you. Thank you for, you know, donating your time and your energy and your expertise and creating all this space for us to learn from and with you. And then Diana, can you also, yeah, because I don't have all these names quite memorized yet, but there was a committee with you. Can you give a shout out to those committee members again before we close this section? Yeah, and I also wanted to. Yeah, so let me talk about the committee members first. So thank you to all of the committee members. Like I said, yes, opening day, I can't remember what day it was. Catherine, Anne, Corey, who I don't believe is here right now, Marion, Drew, who wasn't officially on the committee, but has stepped up so much with Mighty Network support. Thank you. We were really small but mighty this year for Mighty Networks. That was not intended. And next year, I have heard from some of those committee members who have been on the committee for many years that they are going to be stepping off. And, you know, as Ethan always says, GYA runs on our committees, and the conference committee really does need support. So if anybody's interested in filling those very big shoes, please reach out to me. And on that same note, when I joined GYA to support the conference as one of my main focuses with GYA, one of the things that Michelle Dittmer and I ran around Florida asking people about was, what do you want to see in next year's conference? And one of the common threads throughout was, we don't want too much recycled material. Our community is small, and so we can only lean on so many speakers every year. And so it really does take a few brave souls to step up and submit proposals each year. And like Carrie said, you took the words right out of my mouth. There were so many phenomenal sessions this year. And one of the great things about being virtual is we were able to bring in so many people who are not a part of the day-to-day community with GYA and bring in that expertise. The challenge with being back in person, which we hopefully will be next year, is we will not be able to necessarily bring those voices in. So we need this community to step up and bring the proposals, bring the interest, even if it's a topic that you don't feel like you're an expert in, but you're just willing to explore it. We can go back to what Boston and Baltimore were like, which was roundtable discussions. So we need that bravery, and we need the creativity, and then also, of course, the hardworking committee. So yes, huge thank you to the conference committee, and huge thank you to all of the presenters this year.
Brilliant, brilliant, very well said. And thank you, Carrie, for shining the light back to all of the great shoulders where we get to stand on in our own learning and education. Such a dedicated group. Diana, how long will the recordings be up for?
Last year, we kept them up until March. So I think we'll probably do the same this year. We know that with the holidays or the winter season for some of us, people are taking vacation, especially with a lot of semester programs coming back. We want to honor that maybe you're not going to be sitting in your office twiddling your thumbs and watching recordings. So we'll leave them up for a little while, but probably close them down on March 1st. I'll make sure to note that. And then finally, I did forget to mention, we'll also send out a post-conference survey. So if you haven't filled out a session-specific survey, please do. That's really helpful for us in crafting the conference for next year. And we share that feedback directly with all of the presenters. And I had a couple presenters already ask me for those session surveys. So they mean a lot to the presenters. And then we'll send out an overall conference survey later this week in closing, and please do try to fill that out as well.
Nice, nice, very well done. Well, with that, we get to close the 2021 Gap Year Association virtual conference. We are going to transition to the annual membership meeting. If that's not your bailiwick, you have no obligation to stay. It's a little dry, but it might be educational and highlight a couple of areas even that you could contribute to GYA downstream. So we're going to go through a brief financial overview. It's going to be pretty light level. I'm going to go through the process to hopefully elect a new board member. The process for that's going to be another word cloud, but a nomination. We have two options. Ideally, we can nominate and elect someone today. If that's not sort of available because sort of the pool of available candidates aren't here to affirm and sort of say they want to join, that's also possible. And we'll solicit nominations that we can then go back to and recruit, hopefully one of them to join the board. So I do apologize, it's going to be a little bit dry, but hopefully informative. If you want to peace out, you are certainly welcome to. And with gratitude for all of the contributions you've done over these last 3 days. All right, to the membership meeting. So one thing I just want to point out is look at the number, that difference. Our gross revenue in 2020 was 120 grand. Before we were in the pandemic, that number was closer to 160 or so. And the difference there is that you bring in a lot more money for an in-person conference, but you also have a lot more expenses, and the expenses aren't sort of listed here. So that's just the gross income. Now, if you look at 2021, though, we've gone through a lot. We've grown a lot. And what I did was I tried to sort of break it down into the areas where sort of the categories where we actually earn our income, and then highlight, one in particular where there's some opportunity for growth, where you all and your network can hopefully contribute to GYA's ability to thrive and support sort of living wages for full-time work that's actually happening.
Ethan?
And should we be seeing your screen?
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're not sharing my screen. That's going to make it a lot easier if, thank you. You see, it's a lot more significant when I throw some numbers and you can actually see them now. So the two asterisks at the predicted gross really tie back to the college credit. So college credit, GYA earns roughly $1,700 per student. And then from that, we pay the university, PSU, for all of their sort of the accreditation work that they do. And then we also have a process by which we solicit, recruit, vet to get them passed through PSU and then assign instructors of record. And so we also have to pay the instructors of record. So that 108, that's just the gross number. But generally what I'm highlighting here is that from our accredited members, every GYA accredited program is eligible to offer college credit through Portland State University. And those that are availing themselves of it, generally what I'm hearing is it's a great catalyst to try and bring in more families, right? It's not an either or, college or gap year, it's a both and. The credits are coming from Portland State University, which does aid their transferability, but transferring is always a question. So, with a word of caution, you don't want to just go out and say, everybody do the credit, but it's a great way for young people and their parents to find an on-ramp to the gap year. If I'm being completely honest, I'd probably guess maybe 8 out of 10 actually complete all of the credit. Maybe 1 to 2 out of 10 don't complete the credit. But again, it was the catalyst to get them in the door. And even those that have sort of like paid the money, didn't get the credit, but had the experience, I have yet to have a complaint from anyone saying that the process, the time, or the credit, even if not earned, wasn't valuable. I love doing this work because it just is so intrinsically alive for so many people that it's hard to really push back on it. Conference institutes, professional development. So this is actually our net. Well, I guess it's our net because we don't have a lot of expenses. The expense side of most of these things are maybe a couple grand in terms of software and awards and shipping and all of that good stuff. Again, one of the advantages to being in a virtual environment. Membership dues and accreditation, roughly 70,000. That was what our target was this year. I'm predicting a couple more things that are coming in before year end to get to that. And then annual giving, $12,000 is what the board gave this year. And that's a huge number from such a small board, especially when as ambassadors, we don't require our ambassadors to give donations since they're there to actually, well, they're there to be a voice for a particular segment. It's sort of like, welcome, now you get to be an ambassador and here's the penalty, you know, $1,000 bill. No, but what we do is we're, you know, that doesn't stop these people from still giving donations. Even though they've been ambassadors, we've had plenty give major donations as well. And this is an area as well that that GYA has to grow into its own bridges. Ways that we can increase the revenue and do more in the work ahead. So let's look at what the actual board is. So each year, GYA provides at least one opportunity for the membership. This is what we're going to do next. So the GYA board, it's between 9 and 15 individuals. That's what's written into the bylaws. We have 4 designated ambassadorial positions, each whose job it is to rep that particular group on the board and make sure that that dedicated voice is heard in the overall direction of the movement and the association. Currently, we have 12 board members. And I did this sort of, I fudged a little bit, like Aaliyah and Ray, I put you both into the author and business category. But look at this. I mean, we are way overstacked on the education front for a board. Like if you look at board dynamics, board mechanics, what like part of the core function of a good board is to expand the reach of the organization, hopefully bring in new donors. And we've got a lot of educators. One thing I know about educators is we're not exactly known for being wealthy. So there's not a lot of money to give. There's a ton of heart and a ton of will and extra time. And that is how we've gotten here. And the next stage of GYA is going to need a couple more layers of support. We need a couple more steps to get to the next level. And these are some of the ways that I think we can get there. It's super fascinating to me to think through sort of where we are with all of this, and none of this surprises me. And it's been a great joy to get to work with this board. So let's talk about this, electing a board member. So we alternate years between alumni ambassadors and general board members, typically, so that each year the board gets an opportunity to vote. Last year we had 2. I don't know why we did it this way, but it ended up happening. I had to go back and relook at the notes and Ray's excellent note taking from board meetings that came in after. And the way that we have it set up is that each one of these people for this position that we're electing to, it's a low lift. Since this is sort of generally, you don't really know exactly what you're getting into. Maybe you're new to the board thing, especially if you're an alum. We didn't want to make sure that you were dedicated to 2 years. So these are all 1-year positions that we're voting on now. And then typically what happens, as happened with Erin Okar, is she says, hey, I'm interested in doing another year. And the board's like, you've been great. Yeah, let's do another year. And then maybe we continue to nurture that. But we have space, right? There's 12 board members now. We've got space up to 15 based on our bylaws. So this is, again, a little subtle plug to start thinking of people in your Rolodex, if that doesn't mean anything to anyone under 30. People in your LinkedIn account who actually, you know, might be able to contribute to GYA, start connecting them to the board, to myself, to Carrie. This is, again, one more step that we need in order to get to sort of like the next floor. I'm not sure what floor we're on, probably 2 or 3. I'm not sure how big our building is. Hopefully it's a skyscraper, but a green skyscraper, like LEED, for sure. So this year we're nominating and electing an alum board position. So this is going to be someone who is typically someone who has taken a gap year, preferably someone within the last 5 years or so. Personally, from my perspective, I think any board, any organization that's looking towards the future, it seems like youth see things far quicker and far sort of more passionately, and oftentimes far clearer than many of us old codgers in the room. And so I'm always keen to bring in more of that youth perspective to advocate for things that they see and live with, that we just, you know, I don't know, you get to sort of live with a certain degree of climate intolerance and just becomes the norm. but climate intolerance doesn't do anyone any good, as we talked about on the call earlier today. Like is that the hill we want to die on? I don't know, but we are dying on it unless we do something. So there's an opportunity to step up here. So what we're going to go through is, are there any, well, maybe before I do this, because I do have another word cloud thing that we can do, but I don't know that that's necessarily the most helpful. I'm going to go to gallery view. And do we have anybody who would fit that alum sort of perspective who's interested in being a board member? Let's start there. This might be an easier path. Otherwise, we'll go through nominations, and that can be fine. I see a couple people on the call who I think would be eligible if they were interested. So if anyone's interested, please go ahead and just sort of either raise a hand or chat me something in the background. And if not, then I've got another word cloud. So yeehaw, and we can, this is how I'm thinking we can anonymously nominate people, is through the word cloud process as well. It's also quite pretty. So if there's nobody stepping up in that way, then great. Let's do a word cloud thing. So we're gonna go. So the goal here would be to nominate a recent alum, and I'm going to drop this into the chat here. Do people need to be present to be nominated? At this point, good question.
I don't think so, Ethan. I think in the past we haven't.
That's correct. Yeah, they do not need to be present to be nominated. That is correct. Yeah, let's sort of continue that path. So let's see where we go. Awesome. And so generally the sort of the process by which we'll go through, my laundry's done, is, let's go back to my presentations. So if we get, let's see what this is looking like. So if we get, great, it's about where I expected it to be. I'm gonna do this again so that you can see. So the process here is we don't need to take a vote today. This counts according for sort of Oregon rules, because it is sort of a big commitment. I'd love to reach out and see if there was interest on both sides. Because I'm hearing from those on the call. Thank you for being sort of brave enough to chat me. That sort of the process to do this is what we'll do is we'll take these two names, because I think these are the obvious names, and then we'll reach out to them back channel, see if they're interested. And then if we have two interested parties, then we might go to the board and say, hey, are we down for two alum? And if we only have one, then hopefully one will accept. But let us run that back channel. No need to go much further with it here. Board meetings happen once a quarter. They're all done virtually. They seem to be about an hour and a half, maybe a half an hour work up front of the board meeting. And then generally your obligations are to show up and vote. We want to educate you to what it is to be in the nonprofit world. And we want to add your voice to the direction and vision that we all love to live. So great. This is actually much more successful than last year's attempt to do this. Celeste, did you want to say something?
Just acknowledge, since I'm present in the room and my name is on the board that everyone's looking at, I wanted to put my voice in the space in the moment. This organization is one that I'm really excited and proud and interested to be a part of and continue being a part of more. I just messaged Ethan privately saying I had a feeling that my name was going to end up on that as soon as I realized they were electing board members specifically within the alumni space. And I just told him that I'm not prepared to accept that position because there's different involved parties that I need to speak to kind of understand more what the responsibilities of this would really entail, but that there is interest. And I'm also wanting to acknowledge that I'm honored that you guys think that I could be a good fit for adding a voice of value to this movement and having something to contribute. So thank you.
Absolutely, Celeste. Thank you for those words. Thank you for your willingness to explore the opportunity. And inevitably, I'm hoping, thank you for the year and or more ahead that we get with you in that space. But at the very least, we get you in this shared space, and it's always been a benefit to us all, especially on the Wednesday call, Celeste. Your regularity uplifts the group quite well. Well, beautiful. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen because it's not shared anymore. And with that, say a heap of gratitude to you all. Celeste and Drew, I'll follow up personally after this, and really just want to say gratitude to all of you for the tremendous contributions you make to the field, and inevitably the care that you have for all the students. One of the things that I love about this field is I've never met a field that's more student oriented. That's sort of the focus, the target, and the goal. Profits out there, but that's never the motivating factor, it seems. And I'm happy to stand on that hill as long as you all are with me. So thank you very much. And here's to 2022. Let's make next year even better. Carrie, I'm passing the conference baton to you.
Accepting.
Yes.
As long as Diana and Vanessa and as many of you on this call say yes to that committee, we'll be in good hands.
I love it. Yeah, we need the committee help for sure. Well, brilliant, everybody. I hope you have a great holiday tomorrow. Friday, if you're taking the holiday as an extension, do something extra fun. And may the holidays ahead, Thanksgiving and whatever you celebrate around year end, be fruitful for you and your family. Big hugs, and I guess we'll sign off.
Ethan, it feels weird to not sign off without clapping for you one last time too, maybe. All right,
Well,
like the
thank you.
off mute kind, the actual loud kind, with us all like making noise.
Yeah, Ethan.
Yay!
Yay.
Ethan.
Yay. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ethan.
Thank you very much. What a ride it's been, and it's not over. This is a lifelong ride, lifelong learning thing. You know, we all seem so dedicated to.
Really long off ramp for you.
Yeah, it is, but a great bit of overlap. This is the most proper like transition I've ever done, and I gotta say, Carrie, it feels really, really good to have the runway that we do. Yeah,